Thank you, Mr. Uppal, for getting into this third Intueri talk. I mean, we named it as the effects of AI, artificial intelligence, adverse or propitious, positive. Now, we're very honored to have you here. The first two we did was on green and sustainability and on interstate armed conflict, geopolitics. And today you are here to discuss another risk that World Economic Forum identified amongst the 34 risks, the AI, which is 29th risk in a 2-year period and 24th risk in a 10-year period. We are actually, Mr. Uppal, picking up some of the risks that the WEF last concluded in Davos, the Global Risk Barometer report highlighted. We're picking a few of them up. Just as an introduction to the audience of Mr. Uppal, Mr. Uppal is an extremely renowned name in India, in the corporate, in IT, and in HR. He is a member of the executive committee of Maruti. He has over around 38 years of experience in the corporate world, spanning diverse roles and responsibilities from IT, HR, logistics, business analytics. At present, he leads a team of over 400 IT people and 350 HR professionals. But beyond Maruti also, he is a chairperson of the CII's CIO committee, an active member of the CM IT group, and a National Board of Accreditation member. So we are really very happy to have Mr. Uppal you here. Now, this is a very informal discussion with you since you are the helm of a corporate affairs on the AI. But just to start, I just want to borrow your thoughts on the interplay between the negatives and the positives of the AI that you see. I mean, there are a lot of questions that come up, ethical adoption of AI. Now, you sitting in the board and such a senior level position in such a vast organization, Maruti, do you see this as of any big item of discussion at your level, at the board level, the adoption of AI, the ethical adoption of AI, and the positives and the negatives of AI?
Thanks, Amrish, for having me here today. Amrish, I think this is one more technology in the whole landscape of journey I've done for the last 40 years. Any new technology come, use of ethical use or maybe some jobs getting lost with the technology and all, is always come to a debate to handle that. So for me, my personal feeling is this is one more technology and which has got tremendous value for the organization. But we must devise the right way of adopting that in any organization to look at that. And especially in the area of AI, my personal feeling is everything of this depends upon the quality of the inputs and quality of the data you have to work on. Data could be internal, data could be external, but it's all depend upon the kind of data you have and from where you're asking the right kind of answers to work on. And it could be as good as bad as the quality of data is. So for any organization to really use an active or positive use of organization or getting into trap of that, with taking wrong results from the data and all, is depend upon how do you implement this technology in the organization to look at that. So from point of view of end-to-end AI adoption, my personal feeling is your whole architecture of driving this in organization is very, very critical. And you have a right architecture with the right kind of guardrails over there to ensure that you have right kind of information and with all kind of quality checks and security built around that in the framework. It could be good or bad based on the quality of work you do in organizing. So in nutshell, I think this all about in the debate is about, the value it can create, and that value is tremendous in an organization. Maybe if I use word transformation in the organization, that will be a right word for technology like AI. But I think success depends upon the whole framework and the way you drive adoption in the organization. I think it's the way you look at this to be adoption to be made in the organization. So having right kind of framework implementation is key for making it a success or a disaster. I think that's my view on this to work on.
Absolutely right. I mean, it is how we adopt it, how we apply it, the methods and the framework which we use. Now, you mentioned about the AI-based transformation in an organization. the transformative nature of the AI. One question that as we keep on hearing as we move around in the corporate circles and as a consulting firm, we do that a lot. We keep on talking to the corporates. That one concern we see many people raise that the human controls on certain things possibly will start taking a back seat. And it will be the AI or the robots which will be controlling. It could be in the Industry 4.0 applicability or even in other back offices. And that can lead to some managerial anxiety, or it can also lead to some IR related issues with human control gradually taking a backseat. Do you also foresee any such thing happening?
Uh, I guess we had, and I come from the age when ERP came first in the industry around and all. I guess we had very similar question debates in forum at that time only. So my very firm belief on this is, any new technology coming up, the job loss could be a one part of it and all, but I think new skills required and new capability required to build is the second part of it. So it really doesn't work on, and let me give you my example on this one effectively. Now, today, maybe we have more than 100 bots running in the company and doing transaction work, which are normally been done by people earlier. So I think that, and the way they are doing it, they are much more efficient, they're much more accurate, and that's really working in the company. Maybe yes, some of the people we have lost their job in this firm and all, but after reskilling and upskilling those people around, they are doing some better job this point of time to work on. And also, now I need people who can create those bots in the company and socialize that to the larger audience to do that, so that you can scale up this to work on. And people who are working this now are doing the role of creating bots than really being a operator. So the again, I think my view is whenever new technology is okay for AI also, but any other technology, I think while implementing, looking at all the stakeholders, what value you're creating for all those stakeholders, what are the impacts it's creating and all, and then look at this in a wholesome way and create the plan of deployment, keeping all those in mind, so that the things I talk about, impact on people, their capability required, the new jobs which are getting created, and you have right capability of people to do that and all. Maybe energy requirement to run AIs and all kinds of things. So look at a wholesome view of this and start working on that together. Now that methodology is important, and that's something which will create success for organization. Issue like IR issues and all can come. That's what I'm saying. So you need to understand that how are you going to adopt that, and also how are you really manage that in your right kind of change management exercise in the organization, so that you can avoid those issues to happen and all. And that's my view on that and all. But this is true for any technology adoption, and I guess AI also is very similar. And we are right now going through a big transformation in organizations like Maruti today.
Yeah, and this has been the IR issue came when we introduced computer. IR issue could have come when we introduced ERP. So as you mentioned, AI is also similar such transformative mechanization of transformative introduction of technology. So yeah, I mean, some wrong adoption or wrong messaging definitely can lead to some issues, but that may possibly die down. Yeah, I
But
mean,
you have to manage it. I think as a process, as a change management in any project like this, you need to manage that as we go along, I guess.
Well, yeah. You also are quite well connected globally, and particularly while you are where you are working, definitely Japan is a country that you would be knowing quite well, and beyond Japan, also many other countries. In terms of more ingenious applications of AI, more innovatively integrating AI into the corporate's function, back office, front office, do you see India at this point in time at par with such leading countries? I mean, generally considered as far more technically advanced than us, or you feel that we are lagging behind?
I think my feeling is India at this stage in AI is uh, just at the point where we have done lots and lots of POCs and trials, and moving into the stage of widespread adoption in areas, especially in back office area, things like automations and robotics and all those areas. We are very good at that. I'll just give you some examples again in this area now. Now, customer service is one big area for any companies to look at, whether it's automotive or other than that. I think very low hanging fruit and really managing those customer operations with the right kind of intelligent bot with GenAI integrated with that is a big area of work and all kind of thing. And for us, maybe almost 70-80% of the customer connect is done by AI bots than really people doing it earlier kind of. So India, as compared to others, my feeling is we are almost at par in many areas of working, and also the adoption in industry, especially in back office area, has been fairly strong. Even as I give example of the front end also, I think we have been working on that. It is happening in a very positive mode. So maybe today we have in India moved from rather I'll say from the experimentation POC stage to a large scale adoption is, I think, the stage we are in the company, especially the large organizations, and maybe also we are reaching a stage where this technology now starting creating a big value for the company, impacting your bottom lines and the top lines. I think is the stage which you are reaching right now over there. But in that journey, we are at initial stage of large scale adoption, and hopefully in maybe couple of year time, it will be a full-fledged integrated part of our businesses. Is the I see it today, frankly.
Yeah, it will not just be something which is very fancy or a plaything or a toy. It will really be integrated into the business to bring in optimization, efficiency, profitability enhancement, all the standard KPI of a corporate that they would be looking for.
Absolutely.
But tell me one thing also. I mean, there is an affordability issue also. I mean, in terms of going for this Gen AI or AGI or the bots or any other such devices, softwares, also adoption of skills, training. So there is an affordability issue as well. And many MSMEs or small and medium organizations or small organizations possibly may not also be able to afford this entire adoption of AI, whereas the big corporates will be able to. Now, will that create a issue of a market concentrator, more division, more AI-based, like a digital divide, as we used to call an AI division between the corporates, and the gap will actually be the gulf between the big corporates and the small and medium-sized corporates will be yawning further, and making in India the entire corporate situation not having a consistent AI story, but having a huge gap. And also Maruti also will be having their own supply chain. And in that supply chain and the ecosystem, there will be many small players also playing. And if any such large corporate, if not Maruti, they are moving up the chain with AI and their service partners or their ecosystem partners are falling behind, will there be a major disconnect which will make the whole system suffer?
Amrish, I think my thought is, when Gartner says the hype cycle, where it start with technology trigger, then peak of inflated expectation, trough of the disillusionment, and then scope of enlightenment and plateau of the productivity. Any technology you see will follow this curve. There are companies which are early adopters. It could be large, it could be small, but it could be an early adopter. And since the initial stage, the technology costs are a little higher, maybe large enterprise can afford that to happen. But when this technology comes to a maybe plateau of productivity, or I'll put it other way around, it gets commoditized to a large extent, then a large scale adoption start happening. So my view in this is the large organization will start with this initially, but very soon others start catching up from there to work on, while the technology reach the stage of stability and productivity life cycle. So when you look at organization, and this happened with all technology, including AI also, early adopters and the people who get actually the real value out of that to look at that. Maybe people do are early adopter, they get some strategic advantage for some time, but after that, everybody become equal to be there to work on. So in that process, which is true for all this Gartner hype cycle, which works on all technologies over there, I feel that initial advantage will there for some time with the large organization or people who are early adopter of technologies. But later on, I think maybe each technology take its own time for stability and all. But once it becomes stability, it becomes commoditized and all. Like take example, ERP used to be a very big company game, and then everybody followed that and all. Maybe when it becomes so-called commoditized to work on, and that lag will always has been there in technology adoption, and in this also I guess it will be there. But my feeling is the time to get this technology commoditized is getting shortened right now. So the gap or a period for which you have a strategic advantage will be much smaller than it used to be earlier for technology adoption, because the technology in corporates and technology in your personal lives, you're also using very much over there to handle that. And also the scope for commoditization is becoming very high, because the personal adoption of technologies are becoming fairly phenomenal right now. So with that kind of audience available, the lag between the early adopter and the commoditization is not going to be very large going forward. Initially, yes, it could be a differentiation from others, but I think people will catch up very soon. That's my view on this subject, actually.
No, I think that's a very good point, because these are the newer kinds of technologies which are coming in, and be it AI or any other thing. It is, I mean, the cost of owning it is now, because of many other infrastructural advantages like the cloud or
Yeah.
your SaaS model. So various kinds of economic and financing models will possibly, as you very rightly mentioned, that the adoption time could be much lesser because of these things than as
Yeah.
it was previously.
Yeah, because pay-per-use model is making it much easier for people to really, adopt that and all, see that and all, and if none working, exit that. I think those technologies are really helping us to adopt faster, I guess.
Yeah, and also sometimes it could be that the large corporates in their whole value system, in their whole ecosystem, can also do the incubation of certain things. If they're really
Absolutely.
wanting to have a full scale benefit, integrated benefit of the supply chain, maybe they will also be getting into the incubation so that their partners can start adopting this as little early.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, though you mentioned that it's still at a kind of a POC kind of a thing, which will be getting into a large scale enterprise wide institutional implementation, integrating to the real benefits. Now, as of now, therefore, we see the small scale AI applications, which is more prevalent, like applicability of a Gen AI or any kind of AGI or any other AI concepts is still now considered in the small scale in some of the back office areas improvement, but haven't yet actually moved to the strategic level, to a boardroom decision, to a decision on a merger and acquisition, to the decision of a reconstructing of a supply chain. It has not really moved to that scale, as I presume. It's still at some micro level, some mini applications kind of thing, some pocket advantages. Is that you also feel like? So see,
My feeling is, I think that micro levels are has become a part of life now. I give you example of bot being used in the company, or customer service bots to really support. Today, if you call any bank for your support and all, I don't think you talk to people over there and all. There are bots who can take care of 90% of the problem you have. So I think it's adding value in so-called initial stages of doing that and all. But yes, you are right. Searching out all, in fact, one of the area which Gen AI is using is personal productivity and effectiveness of the people around. maybe today also the role of a coder with the Gen AI is becoming a really very small, large number of people we use for coding and on will are right now reducing to a large extent by using Gen AI for coding your applications around to work on. I guess it has moved from a small POCs and small value added to a larger, bigger. Now we are at that threshold of moving to that. I think that's my view on the current status of this working. And again, as you said, key speed of adoption is much faster than it used to be, decades back, or the technology around and all. So my feeling is the speed at which it will get adopted will be much faster than it used to be earlier. That's my take on that, because like Chat GPT on your mobile phone to do your day-to-day work, when everybody using it in their mobile to really use that for their personal productivity or personal choices. Or in fact, last month wanted to travel out somewhere to ask Chat GPT to generate an itinerary for me. Was fairly good personal use to see how it helped me to really very clearly define what is to be done and all. So if the personal life you're using this and all, I guess corporate using this Gen AI in their working has been very phenomenal. And the number of use case now our team members are using right now internally is phenomenally high in their day-to-day working, because we are exposing our own internal knowledge base into the Gen AI framework. And for people to take decision based on the past data where we have gone wrong, and create right kind of suggestion for them for their decision, and also validation of their decision, I think is reaching that stage of maturity where it's becoming your personal assistant and personal advisor to help you to take right decision. I think is the stage where we are reaching right now in these technologies.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you got your itinerary through ChatGPT, and you are fairly happy with that. Now, also there is definitely a lot of learning as the ChatGPT or any such, not using any particular brand, but any such Gen AI will be learning. Will be learning, and there could be supervised learning or an unsupervised learning also. And how your prompt engineering will help them to learn more. And so one has to be really careful and quite efficient and effective in this prompt engineering, and how much of supervised and unsupervised learning you will be allowing in the softwares and algorithms, so that this unsupervised learning do not lead to any kind of disaster or a catastrophe also. And efficiency now lies in how much you actually will be able to do your prompt engineering.
Absolutely.
Extract the
And for
best.
that, I think the first point I made was, how do you structure your whole framework of adoption, where you're getting right information from the right sources to do that. I think is the process which you need to use in these areas to really be effective, and not allow that to be misguided or misused in the working. I think is a very important area of care you need to take care while adopting, I guess.
But in the corporates now, I mean, like in your earlier days, you must have seen that when you were adopting an ERP, or even in your later days when you are going into a cloud, I mean, you would be doing an ERP feasibility study or a cloud feasibility study and then move into that. Here for an AI, do you think that the corporates are actually working out like my 5-year plan or a 3-year plan for an ERP AI adoption journey, short term, mid term, long term, and then also associating any return of investment, any success KPIs linked to the success of the of this AI thing as of now, or those are not yet being practiced?
Amrish, I think what we have done, and I'll give you the way I think this is being done, and this should be done also. See, we have two kind of IT in any organization. I always see. One is to run the business, which is I call it hygiene IT, and second is the value creation IT. And in our terminology, we are calling it digital. Now, my thinking is digital is something which is rather IT is something which is for efficiency of running business and run the business efficiently. But digital is all about creating business value for the company, and there the investment has to be linked with the return you are getting out of that. And also maybe we started creating something called digital balance sheet. How much we invested, how much return we got, and all, and from the pipeline kind of thing. We started creating that from maybe almost 2 years back. We started this internal digital balance sheet: how much investment, how much return, and all the stuff and all. To run project like AI, my personal feeling is you need something called maybe AI supply chain or digital supply chain. Maybe let me little broader on that, where one side is the demand. So unlike other areas around where demand is for 3 year or 5 year, here we are saying demand, and because all these projects run on agile mode to work on, so you create a demand for digital by doing various initiatives so that people can visualize that this is a problem, this is the output I want from there, and I am here, I want to go to this level, and what is the value you want to create? Start from that side, which is demand. So create large number of projects, or we call it a pipeline of all the ideas coming from the demand side. And second side, you have a something capability to consume, and sorry, capability to to produce, which is the supply side of the capability, and which is made very agile. And agile means you can scale up soon with a partner available. You can bring it down if not required, and all. So that to do that outcome which you're looking forward to, can you supply those technology, those use cases, deployment and all, and develop that and all. So if you create that kind of supply chain which is agile and which is very value oriented, so that you run MVP, you got some value, you rework on that till the time you get value and all. So if you run that project in a mode of actually is achieving the value with the cost which is again you had allocated to that project, I think it's the way this need to be worked on to handle that and all. So my thought in this is you have to institutionalize this process in the organized enterprise or in the organization, so that this keep on working on and on and on. No, the pipeline could be for 3 months, pipeline could be 6 months, but I guess not beyond that to work on all, because you keep on creating more and more use cases around. You create also keep on value each use case you're creating, prioritizing them to work on, and this journey should continue on an ongoing basis. And till the time you say, okay, you reach some large maturity, your capability in AI is of the cognitive level than really predictive at that level and all. So this journey need to be performed with the right kind of processes and governance in the organization to really achieve a significant gains in the company is my view on driving this in the company, frankly.
Yeah, very well said. Very aptly placed, Mr. Uppal. We are also actually trying to work out, I mean, as a consulting firm, on the methodology of how to measure on the success of an AI project, the return related to an AI project. And we are also working out the methodology of how to identify the places in my organization where it will give me the quickest return and where to experiment. So therefore, to figure out the entire process of the organization, sub-processes, and just to check the applicability of the various tools in AI and which will maximize the return. But this is a subject of research, a subject of discussion, is a subject definitely of deliberation. And more we evolve, mature, we'll get to know.
But one point on this, I think, Amrish, my very important thought, especially when AI comes in, I think capability building at the user end of what AI can do for you is very, very important and all. So earlier, you used to give you a problem and asking some technology people to give you answers on that. But now my feeling is the capability at the user end to create that demand is very, very important to look at that and all. So I think the large investment is required to create that digital capability at the user level is one big area of work you need to do that and all, frankly. So that your demand pipeline is good enough to really keep you having enough projects to get that value. I think is very important and all for doing that. So that capability I think is a big area of work need to be done, so that they start thinking differently and digitally is an important change we need to bring, exactly.
And also, we need to know the subject. We also need to be quite creative and innovative to figure out that where exactly these applications can come in and help me out.
Absolutely.
Because if to a large extent it is proportional to my own creativity and innovative sense also of where I will be able to use such, and that depends on my awareness and knowledge of that subject, and which would be
Yeah,
like.
in fact, what we did was in this area that we hired some consultants and the professors from the academia to really help us to teach technology to these people and to the senior people of Maruti, and then in the conversation with the professors and with the peers in the company, we said let's start debating and creating more digital ideas to be implemented in AI in other areas around and all, and that has been a very successful project to really generate that idea and all, because that capability development really gave them because they know their domain very well, but knowing the AI capable AI technologies and digital technologies to them really worked very well, so that they can start using this technology to visualize their business in a new sense and then create those projects to look at. That was a very good experiment. We could do that, frankly.
That's a very good thought. I mean, doing such thinking workshops with the people. And by now, so far, what you have seen, I mean, maybe at a smaller scale of these AI applications, what, according to you, are still the constraints that you are seeing in it, which over the time will have to be removed, maybe in the technology itself? Computing power, algorithmic still limitations, the language models, any constraints that you have seen which needs to be improved?
I think technology is evolving.
Mhm.
And today also I use co-pilots in my working, then all kind of thing. Still, these technologies are getting matured right now. And I mean, my customer, any guess would be accuracy I get on that support would be anything between 70 to 80% kind of thing onto the advising me correctly into the, and you have to value add the 20% on that to really make it useful to work on. Here I'm talking about Gen AI as a concept. Now, technology will mature, and uh, compute is a challenge when you use AI, but with cloud availability is not a challenge right now, but the cost definitely is a challenge. And current costs are really, I'll say, more toward uh, not for large scale adoption right now, but I think it has to mature and come down a lot so that the large scale adoption can happen on this. Cost definitely is. And third, in corporates, again, I'm saying is the whole knowledge of creating right framework, because this has to coexist with so many applications you have in the organization. So architecting the very carefully to do that, how does it interface with all your other ecosystem in the organization and work on that is a little complex issue to work on, because these are emerging technologies, people doesn't know much about it. So having that capability to really architect that and keeping the organization is one area of concern I have to work on. And cost was first, and second is the architecture of this, and third, I guess, security always is the issue which need to be managed any large scale implementation around and all. So that challenge anyhow will always be there for anybody to look at that. But on top of that, I think latest the data privacy laws coming in India and those kind of things will add another layer of compliance on top of it to really make sure that you really do that correctly. And that's again need to be done by design in the whole framework than really being seen after later on after thought into doing this and all. I guess those capabilities and the processes are important to really make sure that you drive these kind of projects very very carefully and working on to make it a success, I guess.
Yeah, so therefore regulations and technology also, how to take into consideration the various regulations
Mhm.
will possibly give us the protection layer in terms of the security and the data integrity. In fact, my next question was also related to that, which is there are various sustainable development goals that we keep on hearing. I mean, every organization is now working towards. all the net zero, the carbon neutrality, their contributions to the whole thing. Now, you very rightly pointed out that AI will depend on the on the vastness of the data, on how much we really can generate accurate and the amount of data. And more we get into this data-driven economy. I mean, there will be more and more uprising of the data centers, which could be captive or which could be on the cloud also for me. Now, as we know that these data centers are also tremendously consuming power and therefore is
Absolutely.
a contributor, negative contributor to the environment. So indirectly, therefore, AI demanding data demanding data centers infrastructure to be expanded, and therefore putting more negativities into the environment. Could that be a threat to the adoption of AI? In addition to that,
Yes.
security and the data privacy, which we have already
Sure,
addressed.
sure. Amrish, I think my thought very clearly is one is the growth at which is being adopted in the company is something which is phenomenal, frankly. And for me internally, we also monitor use of say Gen AI in the company at point in time. Now, I'm getting growth of around 20 to 30% every month. Usage of AI in Gen AI in the company, and we monitor that usage and all. So with that rapid increase of usage, agreed. I think this will be a challenge going forward on large number model. But I guess there also, as of now, could be a challenge of large compute and all. But then again, the kind of the research and the new tools coming in, this is would be a challenge going forward. But again, it also depends on the kind of industry you are in, frankly, to work on.
Mhm.
If you're a banking and all kinds of, this is a big part of their compute is a big part of their working, and then this impacts a lot onto the work on that. But in a manufacturing where you are running a huge plants to work on and all, this becomes very small portion of your overall scope of thing you have and all. So it's an issue, but in manufacturing, large manufacturing like ours, this is not a very significant impacting part in overall scheme of things in your sustainability goals. And today, looking at the whole supply chain together, and in fact, one big change I see is and then we talked about the suppliers and supply chain together into this field. Going forward, my personal feeling is this whole sustainability will bring lots and lots of uh, connectivity and together information. So business network we call it going forward. The investment on creating one single
Hello.
database of understanding.
Okay, continue. For a while, we lost you. Yeah,
Okay.
but go ahead.
So going forward, I think working on the one single ecosystem together, say Maruti with the tier ones and tier two together, sharing information on carbon usage and credit and all, because the compliance requirement of reporting and controlling that to net zero targets we have created is going to be a big idea around to big work to be done together and all. So my feeling is the going forward, keep along with this issue of which is said by carbon neutrality. I think overall working together through our technology layers, including AI on top of it, to ensure that the whole when you're talking about net zero as a organization, your whole group three emissions and all information together to be seen working is a big area of work to done, so that and we need a lot of compute to do that also, because then you work enterprise as a one network, then a different company talking to each other to working around, and there's a lot of technology work happening in this space going with many ARP vendors to do that, so that there's a transparency on especially the regulatory kind of information, so that we can report that timely, and also you see the improvement coming on those areas directly from your backend system, so that you can really report that and all, and you can be compliant on that to work on. I think it's a big area of work going forward should happen and would happen, I guess, to work on that. So creating that whole global framework will be a one bigger challenge to work on, because the requirement of reporting regularly and being compliant, and with the kind of pressure you have on the environment, I think is a big area of work. I guess we need to do.
Yeah. So what you were saying, and definitely there are many apologists of AI who would possibly be saying the same thing, that AI possibly will be helping the sustainable development goals, and AI's applicability and adoption will be more contributing towards the achievement of the sustainable development goals than destroying or taking us away from those goals.
Absolutely, absolutely, you got it right.
Uh, Also, the other thing is that when we are using AI, I mean, we are depending on very much the softwares produced by others outside, because I'm not expecting the corporates who are in auto or in banks or in any other product are engaging their people significantly in boosting up their AI apps, the AI libraries, generating apps every day. And it is also continuously evolving and changing. It's not like you have taken a large ERP and that gives you a cover for 10 to 15 years. It's a much shorter life cycle of all these products coming
Yes,
from outside. Now, therefore, do
sure.
you feel that my dependence can get, or to a large extent, on this outside world, serving, supplying or providing me with these solutions and softwares that can be adverse for me? My resilience, my sustainability could be impacted because of these increased dependence on external people.
I think one point very clearly is there are two parts to the story, frankly. One is the technology, which is platform to use these AI use cases. That platform has to be created internally, and the whole interfaces with other applications that need to be done very, very important. And there you are dependent on all the external providers for the technologies to be there. That dependency will always be there. Initial see the unlike, as you said, these are not a one implementation and you end do the to the end to look at that. uh, in these kind of AI areas, the capability to consume is very important. Now, end of the day, see, you need two different kind of skills. One is the whole data skills and analytics skills to do that. And second is domain understanding to look at that. And domain understanding is best known to the people in the domain to look at that. So my going focus will be the platform to be provided. You should have either central or decentral pool of data scientists working with the users, and domain coming from the business knowledge, and then create those model to be used to work on. Unlike ERP kind of environment where you give a screen and you put in data and you get the results, here I think the capability to consume is very important. So the going forward, the creating, I mean, we call it sometimes citizen developer in the organization. We also call it sometimes the digital competence with the right business users to be there, and create that capability on top of their domain understanding for effective implementation of that to happen there. So you'll be dependent on the technology provider for the platform they are provided, but for the use case adoption and working on that, I guess building that capability in-house will be a much better option than depending only on the consultant outside to do that and all. So the people who can help to create that capability in the organization will be a much desired kind of area of work, is something we need to work on, frankly.
Right. Maybe shift a little bit towards the HR part, because that's also one of your very strong specialization, and you possibly in the corporate is a one gentleman who is unique. We're having IT and HR portfolio together, and both intersect so much that it's important that I ask you your observations on some of the HR related matter also. Now, of course, we know that the various kinds of upskilling, cross-skilling will have to be done to reduce the displacements of these people with the newer technologies coming in. I'm sure corporates will be taking that up and doing that adequately. They will not start in a country like India, where unemployment is an issue, mercilessly firing people because of new technology. But in addition to that, I mean, do you think that the with the adoption of these AI kind of systems like our performance framework, our evaluation mechanisms, or the KPIs of these people, the goals, the targets of the people will also now should be relooked into, recast, recalibrated, because this will be giving in a much more efficiency and room to think, relieving them from an operational thing. So therefore, their performance frameworks should be more evaluated, differently evaluated, created now.
I think, Amrish, my thought on very clearly is HR is one area where the capability or adoption of AI is at a very initial stage, rather very low hanging fruit to look at that. Especially, adoption in hiring processes and all, creating that standardization in your hiring standards in the organization, usage of these kind of things, or maybe even the capability assessment in the organization. That part automation is something which is really becoming big change now, getting automated with all the tools available to handle that. So going forward, my feeling is the requirement of skills in these areas and all, where we were totally dependent on capability of an interviewer or capability of the people doing BI or stuff like that, that is going to slow down. That is going to become more AI driven going forward. Maybe somebody personal is looking at very few output validation than really creating that output himself actually. So that process is going to become much more efficient to work on. Frankly, that's the one change I see happening with AI in HR framework to look at that. Secondly, I think the organization structure of doing that work is also going to change a lot with technology available and all kind of thing, because and we are into a journey of creating a role-based organization in Maruti, where our thinking very clearly is that your ability to define what role is required to perform that role, and that role is going to change and all. That work which is doing right now, half of the work will get it done through some bots or some AI technology to look at that. So you need to really redefine that roles, and also you have to redefine those level in the organization, so that you have the right kind of capability to deliver to the business to look at that. So constantly looking at the each job role with AI adoption is very important to see that you run as a very efficient and agile organization. And this you have to keep on doing regularly to see that what role you are performing, how much that role has been shifted to bots or some AI adoption and all, and then recalibrate that job, maybe little more create that job worth little higher than the rest of the work you're doing. So I think HR will need to be a more agile than it has been, with this technology getting adopted both within HR and also within the organization at large to work on. So creating those like shared services and self bots to support all the user business applications around, and also I think there are many use cases over there. So regularly recasting your organization with respect to adoption of technology, so that you can create that value going forward, is going to be very important for any organization to look at that. Right?
That's a very important and point that saying that the typical orthodox classical style of the HR evaluation will not possibly work here, since the technology landscape is continually shifting and dynamically evolving. So therefore, the people associated with that, their performance and their value drivers, their growths, their assessments also have to be continuously dynamically evolved. The framework, the methods for that. So it's a very important thing. So I think with this, we more or less come to the end of all the questions which I had, and you really touched upon a vast area of subjects. And more so importantly, you were saying that this AI will bring in much more positives and is here for positive outcomes only. And the negatives that if at all any, through proper adoption, proper method, framework, proper safeguards, proper regulations, which we really need to take care of. You also touched upon the overall evolution of the supply chain and the ecosystem, that some will initially fall behind but the adoption time is coming down, and therefore the initial gaps will be breached soon. And even there could be some incubation methods to establish this in the overall ecosystem also. You also touched upon the very important point that AI is not a destroyer of the sustainable development goals values, but rather a creator and contributor to it. And importantly, at the end, you touched upon that how the HR evaluation framework and our concepts on HR which we had will have to move from the traditional one to the newer agile methods of evaluation and framework. Is there anything else that your last words would you like to add?
I think my final comment is it's a very interesting technology, and it's very transformative from many technologies we adopted till now. I think our ability to adopt with right kind of agility is very important for success on any organization to look at that and all. And I think you need to have a right framework, right governance, right kind of uh, uh, planning is very important, and that's something is very important for adoption and getting value out of that. Very clear.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uppal, and I'm quite sure that the listeners of this and the other corporates will be getting a lot from this inputs of yours to adopt their AI strategy and how to do their planning around AI. Thank you so much, Mr. Uppal, and
Thank you, Amrish. Thank you so much, and so nice to interact with you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.